Oh, yeah. Welcome out to the Remix Morning Show. Right here on Black Liberation Media. In case you didn't know, I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and we are here to bring you that boom bap breakfast right here on a Friday. But yo, I can't do it by myself, so let me spread the wealth and bring on no other than Hiram. Yeah, put your woo in the air.
Yeah, doctor, play some Wu-Tang.
We got it going.
Play some Wu-Tang.
Hey man, just because you here, I had to do it.
I appreciate it.
You know what it is. Welcome out on a Friday on the Remix Morning Show. All my remixes in the chat room just coming up in here. That's right. You know, and you see what you see on the screen. Up top is taking over. That's right. From Jersey to New York, we running things. All right. So what we gonna do today is we got a dope show. We got Hiram. How you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. I'm glad to be back on the remix. It's been a long time since I've been on the remix. I think this might be the first time I've actually co-hosted.
Oh, okay.
Everybody just left me up here by myself.
Nice.
So,
well, we ain't gonna leave you by yourself. This is what we gonna do. We gonna bring some people in. They like to stroll in a little late, but that's all good because we got Dr. Jerry Paul.
Hey,
yo! First of all, you can't be late if you wasn't even supposed to be here. Second of all, shout out to Hiram Rivera coming through on the remix. This is big. I couldn't. This is too big a morning. I had to try to work myself into this little setup because Hiram's here. We got this big hateful news story. I'm just, so I didn't want to miss it. So I wanted to
he said, "I'm not
swing by
no
real quick on my way out." But what's up, Hiram? Good to see you, man.
It's good, Dr. Paul. So it's good to see you. So it's good to be here. Shout out to the remixes. That's where I normally live. That's always my side of this point. So a big shout out to all the remixes who here every morning, holding it down.
Hey, Hiram, you mind if I bring in somebody else?
I mean, if you have to, I think me and Dr. Paul can hold it down. But go ahead.
But how about Ricky Ryan?
Yes.
What's
Dr.
good?
Ryan, how you doing?
G.I. Jane out this piece. I see you.
Yes, my Sandino shirt.
That's what?
Sandino.
Okay. That's a place, right?
Wow, no.
Sound like one.
I'm sure.
So you're not going to educate me? You're just going to leave me up here looking ignorant?
Yes. I mean, you jumped all the way out there. You didn't even ask.
I sure did.
Sandino, New Jersey. That's Sandino, New Jersey.
It's all good.
Sandino's a revolutionary for Nicaragua. So, like, we hear the Sandinistas, the Sandinista Revolution, they named after Sandino.
Oh, dude. Learn something every day right here on the Remix Morning Show, y'all. So, bam. This is Freestyle Friday. I don't even know what to do. I'm just going to leave it up to y'all.
So seriously, I only have a few minutes. So can we please get to the fun part?
Let's go.
Okay. My bad. I wasn't even ready.
Wow.
So the news, news. So all right.
He excited. I love it.
I am. So I've had this long running issue with my homeboy Michael Eric Dyson, and to lay out the whole story would really take more time than I have, and more time than we should probably spend on it on this august programming platform. But years ago, when he started doing that Radio 1 show, this would have been the early 2000s. And there was this brief discussion of, will this be a good thing? because we got a Black progressive voice on regular commercial radio. That was the idea. Quickly, it devolved into something else, I think. I wrote a column for Black Commentator at the time. He responded. Somehow he got my cell phone number and left a message, my home number, left a message on my home phone, congratulating me on the birth of my new child and all this other kind of stuff. It was really kind of, go on the program, have 2 debates with him and John McWhorter that I did not do well in. And I wish we had audio. I would love to use it to this day. I used to use it in my classes back then as an example of what not to do and how not to engage when you were in these spaces. It evolves. It just goes. There's several more of these kinds of instances. For me, the infamous one at the Real News Network that never aired, where I did even worse, and was even less capable of handling his skillful way of avoiding context, radical politics, honesty. It was just, So there's some background stuff too, where he would send messages to our mutual friends saying things about how he had, at one point he told a friend of ours, I'm going to try to save Dr. Ball from being a marginalized nationalist. So that's something like that. Anyway, so when I saw him the other day, and then there were these underreported or unreported allegations that came from women at Howard University some years ago, that came from women at Vanderbilt University a couple years ago, and somehow it just never bubbles anywhere. It doesn't get, I don't know, honestly, I don't know the details. I don't know the veracity. I don't know any of it other than nothing happens. There was just rumors that his move from and it wasn't Howard, Georgetown. Sorry, not Howard, Georgetown. His move from DC down to Vanderbilt had something to do with this. I don't know. Then he reemerges the other day, has this back and forth with this conservative congresswoman over pronunciations of Kamala and whatever else. Mm-hmm. So then apparently afterwards there was some post-show engagement, and she went live on the congressional record with it. And this is at least some of it right here.
Enter into the record a screenshot of a text message I received from the esteemed professor from Vanderbilt, Michael Eric Dyson, after my CNN interview, begged me for photos. In this text, he says, after calling me racist on CNN, shh, don't tell anybody, we look good together, and sent me a kissy emoji.
Without
then
objection.
The guy says I'm gorgeous in all these photos. I don't think he's that bent out of shape on how anyone pronounces Kamala. And if we're going to have that standard, you got to hold it to both sides, not just one or the one. To all.
And I can't stop laughing at. What's up, Kamal? I can't stop laughing. I think the joint is hilarious. Inappropriate, disrespectful.
It's for my clarity. She's a right-wing Republican. Is she a Republican or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. Because it's all about the games that they play with each other. Well, the games they play on us. And behind the scenes, he don't care about her political affiliation. He don't care about her politics. He don't even care about his own politics. He's like, I'm on CNN. I've made it. Life is good. There's breasts in front of me. I'm hitting on it. Life is good. That's all he cares about. He don't give a fuck about cop. He's like, this is where I get my money from. Every 4 years, I get told to say these things about Democrats, or they come, put me out there. Then I get to do some book speaking tour, or I get to go to some college tour, and life is good. And life is good.
Somebody call Umar.
Oh man, please!
I need Umar's thoughts on this. This has got to be
yes,
white power structure setting up Dr. Dyson.
No,
no money.
Oh, no, they're already in my comments, Hiram.
Oh, that he was set up?
Yeah. Doc,
wow.
He said, you should know better, brother. The history of white women setting up black men. That's what I said. I said, my guy. And then he said, he ends his comment, this one comment, he says, get the hate out your heart. And I was like, never. I said, but seriously, don't misapply that real history to this situation without real, you know what I'm saying? You can't just, I was like,
Dr. Boy, you had another comment up there. You had another comment up there talking about you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
I saw that.
I wonder who put that one up there.
That wasn't me.
That wasn't you?
No, mine was shooters shoot.
Shooters shoot. Right. The poppers pop, the breakers break.
Cornell put that up there. Cornell West put that one up there.
That's the whole other thing. When they had their beef, and I was still on WPFW, I was all in the behind the scenes reaching out to folks like, let's get them on to debate. I was like, let's get it popping. And it was no, we're gonna meet with our common pastor at I think at Howard University. They had a meeting with a common friend preacher, and they all quietly dealt with that until Dyson came out with that hit piece on Cornell West around the Hillary Clinton campaign some years ago, and apparently got paid a nice per word for that. To talk about how we gotta stand with Hillary, and it's that. So look, I don't mean to. Yes.
Quick, what was the context of that clip? Could we just see that little clip? But what was the point of putting him on the Summer Jam screen for? Like, what was? What was she speaking? What is?
The broader clip that I did see is her talking about. I think she gets into some other things, but she was just talking about. She wanted to preface her actual comments by responding to all the, I guess, criticism she had been getting for mispronouncing Kamala's name.
The pushback wasn't real, for sure.
And then she's saying, and then she moved on to something else. But I honestly don't know. And I apologize to our audience and to again this august platform. I am not here with some high level analysis and attempt at being even responsible. I'm like, this is
Stay
just
out the DMs. Stay
hilarity. And on a personal level, it's just as my wife would say, ese fue Dios. You know what I mean? It's you know what I'm saying? You got it.
Turn this to Telemundo real quick. Let's go.
Sábado Gigante on a Friday. You know what I'm saying? All right. Anyway, listen.
I can do that.
I'm gonna dip out. Thank you all very much for letting me join me for this. I am late. I'm making myself late for this. This is a mess. It's a mess. So I just apologize. Right. But thank you all very much.
It was well worth it. It was well worth it.
Oh, it's definitely worth it. And when I get where I'm going, if they got something to say, I'm gonna say, you gotta see why I was late. But let me jump back in the chat with everybody else. So peace, everybody. Thanks again.
Peace.
All right.
Peace, everybody. So Hiram made it.
He did.
So pleased.
I was 10 minutes early. I was here 10 minutes early.
Oh yeah, no, never do that.
Being respectful to the show, being respectful to the ear doctor, all the work, the behind the scenes work that goes into putting this.
Fix your face, Kamal. Fix your face.
It's very high level around here. It is.
Yeah, clearly. I was telling my mom about that message because I seen the clip, and she's like, "Don't nobody listen to that man." I said, "That's not the point. The point is that they keep, like, every 4 years they bring him out. He does this spiel. They know where to put him strategically. Like, I laugh every time I watch because she watches MSNBC all day, and Ari Melber took his whole shtick. Like, he's doing like the hip hop quotes and political analysis and things like that. So they essentially gave Ari Melber Michael Eric Dyson's job. Because that's his whole thing, to be like that kind of hip hop analysis. And he has rappers and things come on now. So now they bring him on as a pundit, but they bring him on, and I think overall, even if nobody listens to him, I don't think that's the point of why they use him. Because he is effective. If he's getting paid per word, so I think what she was doing, I don't know the context, but I thought it was really interesting because I have heard about Georgetown. I have heard about Vanderbilt over the years, especially around when Me Too was at the height of it all. It was him and Neil Tyson Degrassi. Like, there was just things said. So to see that he's doing that, I think it's interesting. But it also, to your point, shows that everybody's cool. Everybody. Like, how you get her number?
Yep. Use the cameras off. Good show.
Right.
It was like they just got finished calling each other names.
It was Instagram though. No, I think it was a DM or something, right? Or was that text?
I think it was yeah. She said it was a text. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. After the lights are off, everybody's shaking hands, getting a beer with each other, chopping it up, talking about what next show they're going to have, where they're going to be next, whatever. And then as soon as the lights come back on, they'll name call, they'll drag the other person's favorite candidate, whatever it is. But for some of them, that's what they do. I'm not sure for others who are more ideologically pure, particularly on the right, not on the left, particularly on the right, is that, yeah, she got them DMs and she's like, I would never, but thank you so much, right? She's like, thank you for this, because now I'm going to expose your ass, right? So good for her. You know, like why? Like what idiot would do, again, something you just called the woman a racist online, and maybe she's not part of your as much as your little game as you've been over the last 40 years, right? Maybe whether I like her politics or not, she takes them slightly more seriously than you obviously take what your supposed politics are, which are obviously like, you know, whoever's the highest bidder get your talking points that week or whatever. So do y'all already did like the daily chop it up? I'm here early, you know what I'm saying? But Jared just came on.
No. You all came on and Jared hopped right into the scandal.
So Hiram, thank you so much for joining. I don't know if this is going to be a regular basis. You know, I asked Hiram if he had some time to come on to chill with us for a little while. I don't know what his time holds. Like, he may not be able to stay for the whole show, but hopefully he will be. As folks may also know, we got some special guests coming on. I'm still going to call him Ajamu. I know that people are now using that new name for him, which doesn't sound like the name I've known for like 40 years. But Ajamu Baraka is coming on later on to talk about, I'm not sure, what is he expounding about? Do we know for sure?
Yeah, what's happening with Africa Stream and Uhuru and just the overall profession.
Okay. And as I think he just came back from a trip to the Middle East, as we call it.
Iran.
Yeah, good. Okay, so we'll talk all about that. And then earlier than that, at about 8:20, 8:30, I think we have another guest coming up to talk about the death penalty and a brother who is actually facing death really soon. So that's going to be a segment. In between that, we're going to get to some news and some other things. But how are y'all doing?
Good. Today I had to do the drop-off thing. I don't do that on Wednesdays. I put them on the bus on Wednesday. So it was a little hectic. You know, I got my eyebrows on. It's a lot. I'm on screen. But I am here.
Thank you for coming by. Thank you. Like I did my drop-off and mine actually went a little better. They moved the body that was there the other day. So that helped. There was an actual dead body on the road the other day. Yeah. So for whatever reason, it made everything faster today. So yay.
Rest in peace to that person and condolences to their family.
Yeah. That too. Yes. I don't want to leave that out.
Mocked on YouTube this morning.
My bad. Yes. I don't want to. Yes. All those good things for the family and that the road was clear.
All right. That's what I'm talking about. So, yeah, I guess we could go ahead and get to a quick break, and then we'll come back, chop it up a little bit more before our guests come. Or you want to keep it going? Because it's Freestyle Friday. Now, it's really no structure.
There's always structure. We kibitz a little bit.
Listen, Freestyle Friday, I might be here, I might not. I might do a break. I might do two. Listen, who knows?
Well, let's consider this one like your first break, and then we'll come back and, like you said, chop it up and then have the guests or whatever. Yeah,
I guess so.
I know Hiram in particular likes non-structured things. It's like it's his favorite way to get down.
All right, well, let's do it right here on no other than the Remix Morning Show. Let's go. Remix. All right. Mental health break time. Remix on the remix. Let's get it. Come on.
Here is where you ought to be. I just want to satisfy you, but you're not mine. I can't deny it. Don't you hear me talking, baby? Love me now, I'll go crazy. Oh, sweet thing. Oh, you know everything. Oh, sweet thing. Oh, you know you're my everything.
All right, let me take you to a time and place. Let me take you back to 1977 with Aletha and Donna off that single Up Top Ranking. And that song is Up Top Ranking. Mixed with a little bit of 1975, great year when I was born. Mixed with a little bit of Rufus and Shaka Khan off the album Rufus. And the name of that song is Sweet Thing. And there is your remix on the remix right here. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, go to Patreon, become a member over there, and get footage that's rare. And also go to the bottom of the screen where you see where you could go and donate. BLKLiberationMedia.org. That's right. Go ahead and do that since we're demonetized and help us out there. All right, with that said, let's get back to it right here on the Remix Morning Show. Let's go.
I string the ropes. Watch out with Chucky dancing. In our khaki suit and ting.
Woo, I miss going to the rocker parties back in the day, boy. Just on the wall, grinding like them, on a big pliff my mouth. Yes. What? Don't get me started. Good old college days.
Was that in Trenton? Was that in
No,
Trenton?
this was in Atlanta.
In Atlanta?
Yeah. They used to have this reggae club called the Soul downtown, and Jaguars. Those were the two reggae spots you hit up. It was crazy.
That's wow. I don't think it feel like Atlanta. I don't know Atlanta for like. I mean, I'm old, so I wouldn't be going anyway. But for like reggae spots and shit.
You over there where the majority of the Caribbean people live?
Yeah, no, it's a state of immigrants. Yeah,
on the east side.
Caribbean,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's what it is. All right. So y'all look happy today.
I'm happy.
What's all this? I seen a lot of stuff going on this train thing up in New York. Y'all talked about that already, or it's something new that just developed?
No, we talked about the actual shooting by the cop in the Bronx, but we didn't talk about the response of the people. Not the Bronx. Where was it?
No, it's in Brooklyn. It's Sutter.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. But like you said, people have been responding by organizing and jumping the turnstile. In fact, I'll bring up the footage real quick of this particular one because I thought it was just a fantastic showing of civil disobedience, like mass disobedience and stuff like that, which we always need more of. Like we don't got enough of that going on no more.
Well, while you getting that together, I just go ahead and push this news break thing since it's kind of news.
No, don't push the break yet. Wait a minute.
Right?
Wait a minute. Stay right there. Don't leave either. Stay there. Stay right there. Wait. What's you okay?
Kind of news.
Be out my pay grade.
You're not getting
it. You're right.
More shouting, fuck the NYPD.
That cop looked like that comedian.
He's the only pig there. He's calling his backup now. There's like hundreds of them.
Wow. Look at that privilege.
Oh, I love it.
Anyone throwing the turnstile, you're going to get grabbed right now. All the squads are going
Oh.
They get one and two of them. They slow. He still don't know what to do.
Fuck the NYPD!
So that was in response, right, to the shooting. Kind of like just a mass. Oh, let me get my thing off of that.
Oh,
yeah. So that's just like a mass response organized by folks in New York. And they've had demonstrations right at the station where it happened, and demonstrations have been going all over. So yeah, I like the mass civil disobedience.
Yeah, I talked about it with Kim on I think it was Tuesday on her show. But yeah, I think it's, if you remember in 2019 when they had Swipe It Forward and they had all those actions, they had this sort of same similar mass disobedience where they were they were like rounding them up and like cutting them off so they could do mass arrests and things like that, because it was thousands in the streets during that time. And it was because, they kind of sort of criminalized that action for, paying for other people to come on. So seeing that, but I will say it is very interesting to see that amount of white people on Sutter and Van Sickle. Like never, like I'm from East 98 in Saratoga. I've never seen that many white people. So it's a little jarring, right? Because, they wouldn't be out there in different circumstances, but I do think it is important to note that they are out there. But it's more them. I would have expected to see more African people, but the ones that have been out there have been doing the work of connecting it to, like, this is not an isolated incident. The NYPD is being paid by, or they in partnership with the IOF, and like making those connections there at Sutter Avenue where you would not hear it, right? So I thought that was really dope to have seen it, but still, it's a lot of white people in Brownsville.
That's New Brooklyn right there.
No, it's still not. You know what I'm saying? They are not there any other time.
All right.
It's New Brooklyn and Bed-Stuy, Crown Heights. I'm sorry, go ahead, Howard.
No, I was gonna say the whole thing. I think this is just, again, we're seeing glimpses of what's to come, right? So it's an increasingly rogue NYPD that's sort of like sees itself as its own army already, sees itself as its own institution already, right? Back to when Mayor Bloomberg was bragging about how the NYPD has its own capabilities to shoot down airplanes. So they have their own anti-aircraft artillery, right? They have they have attack helicopters that he was bragging can sink boats, small boats in the Hudson River, because they said the federal government, they can't trust the federal government to protect New York City anymore. That 9/11 showed that the federal government can't protect New York City, and so the NYPD has to take that on. Their own, departments and offices across the globe. But, more importantly, and it's policing everywhere, because we see it in Philly as well, it's the extremely heavy-handed response to basically crimes of poverty or criminalized actions of poverty, especially around basic resources like transportation. So those MTA prices just keep going up. The trains don't get better. They don't come on time. I don't think in my whole life the MTA has ever been worth anything, right? But the prices keep going up and up on working people who are struggling to survive in that city, period, with the rents. We see it here in Philadelphia as the prices go up, because the more folks who can't live in New York start coming down to Philly, start coming down to Jersey. And so now you see, we hop turnstiles. They just walk through. The person will be in the booth, right? It's just kind of like we're just walking through. Now that Philly digitized all the train stuff, but the fares are going up, right? But everything is still just a complete mess. And so what they do is they put officers out there basically just to arrest poor people, harass teenagers who have no money already. I don't know where teenagers are getting jobs. Definitely not here in Philadelphia. Definitely not in West Philly, North Philly, right? And the response is this extremely heavy-handed approach, because who's holding them accountable? Who's going to say what, right? And as times continue to get more and more expensive, harder and harder for everyday working people, right? The stress on everybody's going to just kick up, and this is their response. And so, unfortunately, we're just going to see a lot more people killed, a lot more people injured by these rogue officers who are just going to wild out.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that was Kim noted that really stuck with me on that day was the right to movement, right, and the sort of parallels between what's happening here and what's happening in Gaza, like the fact that they are assigned at those stops as like checkpoints, right? You have to have your fare, like, and I was talking about, like, when we talk about internal colonialism, or even that framework of domestic colonialism, you can see that play out in Brownsville specifically. Like your doctor was just saying, oh, that's a New York. No, not Brownsville. Brownsville, East New York still look like Brownsville, East New York. Still. They haven't really because what they're doing is building around it. Like you can go to the back, they got a Target back there, they got new homes and buildings back there, but the pink houses are still the pink houses, and Linden Plaza is still Linden Plaza. Like those areas are not shifting or changing. East 98 still look like East 98. So when you see those conditions, to your point, the rent is going up, the conditions aren't changing. They changing the names of the streets. Like we got a Bar Marley Avenue now, but,
really?
everything still look the same. Brookdale is still the same. So those kind of conditions, and then the prices. When I left New York, they had the all-day passes. They had the you could pay $7 and you got your Metro card. You can go everywhere on the bus, on the train. They don't have that no more. When I left New York, it was $1.70. They was thinking about moving it to $1.90. It's $2.90 now. I only left like 5-6 years ago, and I know that the MTA is in deep debt, so they're criminalizing people, this like the residents of New York, for the debt that they're in, because they cannot afford to pay that back, and they're not really obligated to either. So they get to keep increasing, keep wasting that money. Like, look at Fulton Street was a waste of money. What even is that stop? It's and there's no pushback for that. So you see those conditions, and then there's no, again, right to movement is a symbol of lack of political power. There is none. Those people do not have any. And then all of it is the result of that is the occupation. And it's deep occupation, and like the beat walkers, they got the cameras on the poles, like every single day people are surveilled in those neighborhoods. It's normal to see it.
And a lot of this policing is also, right, real quick, attacks on homeless people.
Right.
Right. And so here in Philadelphia, once you hit after rush hour, that L train is basically a homeless shelter. And you'll have 3, right, up to 2, 3 cars full of houseless people who are battling addiction, because we have a mayor who has, just committed an open war against folks who are fighting addiction, who are fighting houselessness in North Philadelphia. Right. And so that over policing of the subway system, one, keeping residents in their neighborhoods, in their parts of the city, so they don't come downtown or into Center City. But then 2, right, the extremely heavy-handed response to folks who are suffering addiction, who are suffering houselessness, and have no other way of staying warm, especially when the winter's coming here, right, than being on those trains.
Man. Well, what we're going to do here is we're going to make sure this train keep running. So we're going to keep it moving, and we got a special guest coming actually here. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into our special guest segment and rock out with us, y'all. Hit that like button, subscribe, and all that stuff right here on the Remix Morning Show. Let's go ahead and get to it.
Thank you. So we have on ML Smith, freekhalifa.org. ML Smith is the director of the Missouri Justice Coalition. ML, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you. I know these are like sort of, I want to call them dire times, but a time of action. And you guys just got finished doing a telethon for the brother Khalifa. Can you give us an update on where we're at on his case? And what's happening right now?
Of course. Well, first of all, good morning. Thank y'all for having me on today. And I definitely wanted to clarify, I am founder and director of Missouri Justice Coalition, but I do a whole lot of stuff. So I'm also co-director of Missourians to Abolish the Death Penalty, which is the umbrella of the work concerning Khalifa and others on death row. Kamal, we did the telethon a few nights ago. It went great. Definitely appreciate you and Jackie joining us. It was 3 hours, and it was definitely a very emotional time. And with the case of Khalifa, what is happening now is the state of Missouri is pushing forward in killing a person that not only the evidence proves that he's innocent. Our state understands that he's innocent, right? And I don't think a lot of people understand the dynamics of what's happening, but the prosecuting attorney of St. Louis County is the person that's spearheading this movement, the litigation aspect of the movement anyway. So it's not just Khalifa's defense attorneys, it's actually our St. Louis County prosecuting attorney, who is the prosecutor. He prosecutes cases, murder cases, etc., every single day. And in this particular case, his office went back and looked at the case, at the trial, and everything surrounding Khalifa's case. And he said, number one, we made a mistake, like we violated this man's rights. We mishandled evidence. And number two, I believe him to be innocent. Normally, a prosecutor's word, right, in a courtroom is like everything. They always get the benefit of the doubt. But in this particular situation, another legal person in our state, our attorney general, is fighting back against our local prosecutor. And it's interesting because they normally are on the same side. But in this case, the local and the state are adversaries in this. And honestly, Khalifa is caught in the middle because, again, he is still facing execution on September 24th, which is next Tuesday. So I did want to, come on and update everyone. There's a lot of legal, back and forth. There's 3 cases in court right now, one in the U.S. Supreme, one in the federal district, and one in the state Supreme Court that's happening early next week. So it's going to come down to the wire. There are times where people who are facing an execution are strapped down to the table and come within minutes of dying before there is a possible reprieve. And so it looks like that's what we're facing right now. And, with our work in the litigation, we're really just trying to keep that hope that Khalifa will be saved and he will not be killed on Tuesday.
Now, we've been at this, I don't know if you've been exactly at the stage before, but he's been close to the stage before, right? Is this, and can you tell us a little bit about what happened last time? Yeah.
Of course. So, interestingly enough, this is his 3rd execution date. Khalifa was scheduled to be executed in 2015, and that was stopped by the Missouri State Supreme Court, and they ordered further DNA testing on the evidence. He then had an execution date in 2017, because even though that DNA testing that was done in 2015, 2016, it came back and said it was not Khalifa's DNA at the scene or on the murder weapon. Whose DNA it was unknown, because they didn't actually take the DNA and run it through whatever the FBI system is called. I can't remember right now, but they didn't run it anywhere. They just tested it, found unknown DNA, and that was it. So the court again scheduled an execution date. And in 2017, the then governor, who was a Republican, he actually stopped Khalifa's execution, because when he found, when he was presented with the DNA evidence, he's like, okay, even though this is unknown, it doesn't match this person. So let me, stop this execution and create, it was called a board of inquiry. These 5 former judges, they were retired judges, were brought together to investigate the case in 2017. Now, I will say this, in 2017, Khalifa actually came very close to being executed. I've talked to his son, who told me that the prison was preparing to kill his father. He was sitting there, basically going to be one of the witnesses, and he saw everything happening in the CO running around, getting things together, etc. And he said the crazy part was they got a phone call, within hours of Khalifa being murdered, and that call was to stop the execution. And he said they were mad. He said the guards pick up the phone, listen to whoever told them that it's not going on. They slammed the phone down, and they literally had an attitude because they were not about to kill a Black man that night. So it's just an egregious situation overall. But yeah, this is the 3rd time, and they didn't give up in 2017, and we're definitely not giving up in 2024.
So, and in terms of the coalition, from what I know from the outside looking in, your organization, the family, have sort of been the backbone of this work to keep this this issue even alive. And I don't think Khalifa is that a well-known individual in terms of what's been happening. And it's only been lately, it seems like some of this has been breaking through to quote unquote mainstream media. But it feels like it's been a state/local issue. Can you talk a little bit about some of the tactics and strategies that you guys have used to try to bring this case to light so that people can hear more about what's been going on and what people can do, of course?
Of course. Thank you for that. So, we've just been trying to pull out all the stops. I've been reaching out to a lot of people, a lot of influential folks. There are efforts to get more quote unquote celebrities to speak out. I don't know how successful that's been thus far. I haven't really seen anything. But as far as in our community and on the ground, it's definitely been a ground game here. Again, with this not being Khalifa's first execution attempt, there were folks back in 2017 who were in the streets for him. And so, I've reached out to those people, and they have been supporting all this work. So these cases is really about just getting the word out as much as you can. I will say this time we were able to bring on some two Black women who are public relations specialists, and they have been such a help for me because it's a lot of media, it's a lot of calls and emails, and wanting to talk and wanting updates, and it gets overwhelming. Like and I know people think that this work is something where it's greatly funded, or we have huge staffs. I have one co-director, and then we have a part-time young lady that does social media. So that's it. It's just us. We don't have no huge team. So when all of this onslaught comes, like, it's hard for me to deal with it. And so I was like, I need some help. So we found a little funding and we hired some PR people. They've been amazing. They've been fielding a lot of the media and trying to, coordinate a lot of that. So that's been very helpful to me as well. Just having that support as far as the media relations aspect. So with them helping, and connecting with people across our movement, influential folks across the country. I know people in almost every state, and I've been definitely doing outreach. And I'll say this real quick, like 80% of my job is basically begging folks and asking for help, right? And people assume, we're doing some amazing thing over here. It's about relationships. It's about reaching out to people. It's about asking, putting out pleas, providing the information that people need, and really trying to get across that this is a situation that they should care about. So, it's not something that is glamorous, or just, even if people see me like on the news or in the media, 90% of what I do is like calling, emailing, talking to people, really trying to like educate our community about what is happening with Khalifa and other people. He's not the first person. So, or people, I know, people think organizing is some glamorous thing is great, but like, it's just work. Like, we are working. I'm up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes on this computer, trying to bang out press releases and trying to respond to folks, etc. So like, it is really, something that you have to be dedicated to in order to do, because it's emotional labor, but it's like, it's a job, it's work. And so, but I am dedicated to it. So that's, as far as like what we do and how we do it, that's kind of it, just organizing, strategy, and outreach. And then right now you have the flyer up on the screen. So I appreciate that. These are our calls to action. We are, asking people to reach out to the governor of Missouri. Ultimately, he is the one that can stop this execution, he and the Supreme Court. But we can reach out to the governor. So we are asking people to reach out to Missouri Governor Mike Parson, who, has the ball in his hands. And if there are questions about this execution, it shouldn't go forward. So all of the info is there. And then, of course, people can get it on our social media, and also on freekhalifa.org as well.
So go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. I was going to say, come out. For the folks who are watching the show right now, you can sign that petition right now. You can send that tweet right now. I don't know if you can put it back up on the screen real quick. Come out if the folks don't have it, right? But as you're watching this, right, don't hold off. I'll do it later. You can do it right now as we're speaking. One thing was, you said a whole lot around the organizing, all the work that's gone into this that you've been doing. What has been the greatest lesson that you learned through all this, be it about the death penalty, about the system itself, about organizing these types of campaigns? Like, what is the biggest lesson or lessons that you've learned that you can share with other organizers who are unfortunately fighting similar fights around the country, right? Because this country is constantly trying to execute people every day.
Yeah. Well, Hiram, it's honestly about consistency. You really have to stick with it. I think that, it's dealing with the system. I mean, white supremacy, the whole 9 yards is not an easy thing for any of us, let alone organizers. So we have to be consistent and we have to keep pushing forward. So I definitely would tell, younger organizers or people getting into this, we all want to make a change. We all want to help. We all want to, be a part of some grand campaign or movement that really changes how the system behaves, right? But the reality is, it's consistency, it's incremental. These things are not going to be amazing overnight. It's going to take work. And so people really need to understand that and not necessarily get discouraged because, they are not making great gains immediately. These things literally take months and years. This system was not, built and done what it's doing to us overnight.
That's right.
And we're not going to dismantle it overnight. So it's definitely consistency. And other than that, what I'll say as far as my lessons that I've learned and I'm continuing to learn, I'm just keeping it 100% right now, right? Overall, us people, community, Black folks, etc., we love bullshit too much, right? We love to engage and to focus on things that are asinine that really don't affect our everyday lives. And we focus on that to the detriment of the things that do affect our everyday lives, like the things that happen with celebrities. And I get, people have listened to folks' music or whatever the situation is, and they've been on their TV screens, for years. But that does not affect most of us on our everyday life. It just doesn't. And I'm thinking about the stuff going on with Diddy, right? And he's been a horrible person for fucking decades. This ain't new. But for the most of us, that's not affecting our everyday. Like, I have seen over the last few days, people write entire damn dissertations, taking up their time in their lives to talk about somebody who is so disconnected from them, and what they did has nothing to do with their everyday, but the things that are happening in our community every single day, right? Like our government's building cop cities, because that's going to affect us, right? They're going to be killing more niggas. Right. All those things. We pay less attention to that. And it's just like, okay, but everybody think they woke and they think they got their own minds and they think for themselves. No, you don't. You go with whatever media tells you, when it's hot and trending, etc., when it's BS, you fall for that, because if you didn't, you would be talking about things like cop cities, things like the maternal, recently two Black women in Georgia died because they couldn't get the reproductive care they needed. Right. And I actually saw a woman post recently about how Black men need to amplify the issues of reproductive health and maternity, death rates, etc. And that's true. But guess what? Black women need to do it too. I mean, Black women paying 10 times more attention than Diddy than they are to them two Black women in Georgia that's dead. So it's just like we have so much that we need to be focusing on that harms us every day, but we give our attention to Lil Wayne in the Super Bowl shit. It don't matter if that man, whoever the hell performed at the Super Bowl, it ain't gonna do nothing for you. But the fact that two Black women are dead because this country did not give them the care that they needed, that's gonna affect you, because it might be you one day, right? So I just think that we focus on way too much BS, and it irritates me. So I've kind of learned in this work to try to not let that get to me as much as it could, and just try to focus and try to push forward in what's necessary. And when I have a platform like this or others, speak about what we should be focusing on, which is this system, which is the way that it finds to kill Black people, be it death penalty, be it, these two Black women in Georgia, be it, I believe, where did it happen? To South Carolina, the Black man was hung by a tree this past week. The young man that people talking about, he killed himself. Like, all of these things are interconnected. This is the way they're genociding us, and we need to focus on that. So I really try to bring that back when I can, because we get lost in the sauce and all of these other things that really don't affect us every day.
Yeah, and I was gonna ask, if I could ask another question, come out. I was gonna ask you, right? How do you all overcome that? So at the community level, especially when you're talking about something like death penalties, where folks automatically assume that person must have done. One, they must have done whatever they did. Two, it must have been so heinous that it's deserved, whatever they're getting, right? On top of the being flooded with all the Diddy freak out stuff and all the stuff that you just mentioned, how do you all overcome all of that noise, all of the propaganda, all of the way we've been socialized to look at prisoners, to look at incarcerated people, especially those on death row, to try to achieve your goal? Because obviously it's working, right? If I've heard about this all the way in Philadelphia, and folks have heard about this across the country, your organizing is working. So how do you all overcome all that noise at the community level and are able to push back against it and bring folks onto your side?
Well, I'll say overall, and thanks for the question, I'll say overall, it is about educating. It's about talking to people. It's about getting out there and having these conversations and connecting with people like you and Kamal and Jackie and Jared and so many other organizers that I've been able to connect with. So people on the ground that are in communities that are having these conversations and these meetings and really, connecting with our people, because people appreciate me because I show up exactly how and who the hell I am, right? It don't matter where I am. This is who I am. And I bring the reality to us. And the reality is the capital punishment system does not work. The reality is prisons do not work. I mean, we've had prisons for how long, and we still have quote unquote crime, because crime is dependent on who creates it. So we still have these issues in our communities. So, you know, a part of my work is educating our community, connecting with other organizers who are doing similar work and in our communities every day, trying to help our people and educate them about how the system works, what the system is, and what it is not, right? Even after what happened a few months ago with Sonia Massey in Illinois, in Springfield, that was an educational point, right? Because people are scared sometimes and need help. But I tell people all the time, the worst thing you can do is pick up your phone and call 911. Like, that's literally the worst thing you can do when you even are in that situation. But creating community around you where you have people to call, right? Where you have support. So it's really about educating our people, getting out there. I have, in the last like 3 or 4 months, been home maybe 5 to 7 days per month. Like, I've been traveling a lot, going everywhere. We were in Chicago not long ago. We've been in Atlanta. You know, it's just about connecting with people, doing the work, and then getting out and talking to our community members, educating them, seeing what they need, and debunking those, you know, perspectives. When people say, "Oh, the death penalty work," no, it don't. So I actually have statistics and history behind me, right? Nobody has history and statistics to say that death penalty has stopped anything, because it has not. But so that it really is. It's about communication, talking to our people, educating them, and connecting with those people on the ground doing the work, and you know, pushing forward our message to our folks. And it has worked and continues to work, but it's hard work. It's not easy, as y'all know, I'm sure. And so again, consistency, we have to keep with it.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
So really quickly before we go, we're going to wrap up, but I want you to tell the people, maybe like in a minute or so, like who Khalifa is, just so folks can understand who this person is, whose life they're trying to take away at this stage.
You know, I smile every time people ask me that question, because I get one thought. He is very caring and considerate. So Khalifa's had last month in August 2 court hearings. One didn't happen, so they had to reschedule it. But you know, they brought him to court, and again, this is his life on the line, right? And so after both of these court hearings, the first one, he called me like an hour later. And I answered the phone because I didn't think it was, because I get calls from prison all the time, right? So I didn't know who it was. And he was like, you know, hey, and I'm like, who is this? He was like, Khalifa. Like, he was offended. I knew who he was, but I'm surprised he had called me. And I'm like, you know, yeah. He's like, I just checking on you, you know. And I'm thinking to myself, you're checking on me, but you're the one they trying to kill. But you called and check on me. But that's just the person he is. He's very caring, considerate. He's an actual imam of the prison that he's in. He's been a Muslim for many years. He's very faithful and devout, and he's a spiritual advisor for so many other men. And so he's always concerned about his family, his friends, you know, people like me, because he knows the work that I do is hard, even doing it for him. So he's always concerned about how everyone else is. And that's truly the person he is. He's very strong and, you know, very stoic and devout, and just an amazing person. And we would truly be at a loss if we did not have him on earth with us. So we will continue fighting for him.
Thank you so much, Emma, for coming on. Those flyers you're going to be able to see on all of our different social medias, Black Liberation Media. You can see those flyers, so people can, again, as Hiram suggested, call, write, text, all the things that folks are asking you to do. It's a small way that we can try to keep this brother alive. So thank you so much.
And I'll send you the actual links as well.
Okay, perfect. We'll make sure it's in the run of the show and everything else. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
I like that little thing you do there. That's not bad there. I like that.
Well, you know,
I don't. Yeah. Let's give you a compliment. Let's give you a compliment.
I thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. Let me take it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a little lackadaisical as a response. I was trying to throw you something, you know what I'm saying?
And I ain't even catch it and slam dunk it. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah,
Kamal.
you know, you welcome. You so welcome.
No doubt, no doubt. So we supposed to have I was gonna have a little guest for the next break, but they're not able to make it because they're so busy organizing right now. And what are they organizing? They're organizing this event I'm doing this weekend. We talk about the Veggie Taste Fest. That's right. It's going down Saturday from 12 noon to 6 p.m. My girl Naime, she's been doing this for years. So if you're in Atlanta and you wanted some good veggie food, vegan and all that, come on out. Holla. All right.
I thought when you said that at first, I was like, Ajamu can't make it because he's organizing a veggie fest thing. I'm like, what's happening? That was the first thing you said. What?
Nah, that's it. That's it. So yeah, I believe he's coming at the top of the hour. So I guess until he comes, I guess we can get into another story. Want to do that?
Well, that's not that's for the next interview. So that's not the story. So if y'all have one, yeah. But I did want to say that was a really good interview with ML. I was listening in, and then I was also thinking, Kamala said she's absolutely not getting rid of that death penalty. So that's another struggle that we gotta consider.
No, I thought that was a great interview. I thought she gave a real quick a real succinct and just on point breakdown of what organizing actually is, especially the part about being consistent, about being engaged in community with folks who don't agree with you all the time, right? And doing that necessary work of pushing, right, educating and pushing on them and just sticking with the task. I thought that was a very quick masterclass in organizing that she gave effortlessly.
Yeah,
I was I'm trying not to reveal names. I was talking to somebody, and they were talking about protests, and it's like, oh, that stuff is just such a waste of time. What we should be doing is kind of preparing go bags and all that kind of stuff. And I just said my head was spinning because again, I do understand that the prep needs, right? That makes sense to me, but there's no way that you should think, in my humble opinion, that the essence of our struggle is not going to also be in organizing and rallying and getting people to understand the issues of concern, challenging the state where we can, trying to show our strength by getting people out there to challenge the state. So I just think those things are so essential, but they always get either, to be blood shitted on, or people are always talking about how that kind of work is either passe, or they're going to do these other things, which are really like these internal kind of things, like they're little programs that we can do, and again, that we should do. But they don't take the place of organizing campaigns, canvassing, reaching people, trying to get people in the room to talk about the issues that we all have and figure out ways to either solve them and to challenge the state who has the resources to solve them, and or using the resources to punish us more. So when I just knowing ML for the brief time in which I have really gotten to know her, she's inspirational in that sense, where I feel like she does keep it moving and going, and understands that everything's not going to be mass. It's not like it's going to be thousands of people out there at every campaign or whatever. And if it's 10 people or 20 people or 100 people, that the work is still valuable. It needs to happen. So yeah, I salute her and all the organizers out there.
Yeah. And she didn't get to go into the stats that she talked about in the history, but the more folks research the death penalty, you see, right, just how disproportionately it's used on Black people and people of color, just how many innocent people are always executed, just how many botched executions there are, right? It's not a seamless process. There's a number of ways that the state has revived medieval torture techniques, right? And just how many botched executions they have. And even the terrible stories that go all the way back to little George Stinney, right, way back in the 40s, and executing children, and children who are too small to even sit in the electric chair, and just the absolutely grotesque consequences, right, of putting a small body in that chair. It is extremely horrific, cruel, and unusual punishment that has no deterrence whatsoever on stopping crime, right? Or those survival behaviors that have been criminalized by the state, right? No deterrence whatsoever, unfortunately.
They get off on having the power, right? That's part of them showing that they have the power, and keeping themselves busy by murdering our people. and them thinking that they're putting fear in people's heart by doing that kind of stuff. And just like, anytime there's an idea around they're going to end the death penalty, and then like these cruel bastards figure out another way, right, to keep it going, or another mechanism that sounds just as crazy as it, like, I can't remember which state it was that brought back firing squads, or at least the idea that they were going to use
North Carolina, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, on its face, it just sounds like, quote unquote medieval or crazy. But this is the modern day thinking of folks that they're going to use firing squads to execute people. And they think they're the normal ones. So they're the ones who are making good sense. So
it's also an incredible cost to execute someone, right? Oftentimes it's cheaper to warehouse someone in a cell than it is to execute them. And so a lot of these firing squads are one to try to alleviate the cost of the execution and to also slow down the number of botched executions that they have with lethal injections, with the faulty electric chairs and all that. And so you resort back to shooting people, hanging people.
To your point, Kamal, though, about protesting, it's a very interesting conversation I feel like we're finding ourselves in, especially in the last 11 months of mass protests for Palestine. And then seeing that in contrast with the sort of electoral arena, right? So there's a lot of conversations about what will and won't work. And one of the more intriguing things is like that's coming from people who haven't even tried it, right? So they're just observing it and making a particular commentary about it, because, there is criticism to be made about mobilizations, constant mobilizations with no particular objective, right? But everybody engaged in a mobilization is not engaged without an objective. So you have organizers and organizations that are out there in those mass protests that are signing people up for things, that are people, propaganda, that are engaging folks who are, seeing this and, Palestine and what's happening in Gaza is pulling on their heartstrings, but they don't even have the context, right? So it's enough to get them out there on the street, but they're not being engaged, right? But that is happening on some level, and you're seeing that as they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're seeing people, from there join organizations or start to come to town halls or teach-ins, things that are not just mobilizations. And when you see that occur, you have to understand there is a utility in that. But I just think that there's just so much criticism about what doesn't work from people who have not even tried.
The other things that everybody who engages in a mobilization is not organizing, but yet they think they are. And again, I don't want to shit on anybody for showing up. We should show up, but showing up is not the same as the day-to-day work of organizing.
Right.
But again, because of this sort of weird flip it on its head model we have of everybody gets to have an opinion on things and express themselves in ways in which they act like they've been doing something for years, but they went to their first mobilization 2 weeks ago. People get to criticize, and then again, really shit on the organizers in the background who are doing a lot of the work to bring some of these things to fruition. And like you said, doing the groundwork that laid the basis for some of this stuff to happen, or what's the next thing that can happen with people. And again, I just think the credit is not given, not that people need to be like lifted up on shoulders or whatever, but the credit of folks who are doing that work when you don't see them, you don't hear from them. Obviously, they're not on camera a lot, but they're behind the scenes day in and day out, making those calls, writing those letters, writing those statements, knocking on doors and the rest of it. And I think that kind of stuff needs to be understood, for those who don't do that day-to-day campaign work or whatever.
Did you say giving credit and lifted up on shoulders?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's when you came in. Okay.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering,
That was the perfect segue. You're correct.
It's transitions. That's what DJs do. All right, so what we're going to do is we got a special guest coming up. Again, listen, this is a power pack show right here, so y'all better tell a friend it's on again. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with another special guest right here on the Remix Morning Show. Let's go. Oh, yeah. Let's do a little remix on the remix for you and yours. Let's do it.
Rap the king, taking on your circumference. Destroy negativity and suckers that come with the weak, the whack, the worst, the poor. Thrash, back, and then more. Blow up the scenery, I reign supremacy. You need a savior to save your soul on me. I wear rappers like a haunted ghost and stomp them out like a wanted roach. I sling the play, they decay, I always a doorway. Cause I don't play. Attacking like a psychopath, breaking rappers in half and feel rap. Okay.
All right, let me take you to a time and place. Let me take you back to 1978 with A Taste of Honey. Off their album, A Taste of Honey. Name of the song is Boogie Oogie Oogie. Mixed with a little bit of 1989. We're talking about Big Daddy Kane off his album, It's a Big Daddy Thing. Name of this song is Rapper Kane. Make sure y'all hit the like button, subscribe button. Patreon.com, go back to our website, which is blkliberationmedia.org. All right, with that said, let's get back to it right here on the Remix Morning Crew. You know how we do. Let's get it.
There's no time to waste. Let's get the show on the road.
What? He just brought you up? We needed an intro or something. What's wrong with him? He was doing so well. There you go.
Shout out Big Daddy Kane. And then I saw John. I was like, let me shut up. Let me get
my bad. I pushed the wrong button real quick.
You know, intro or nothing.
It's a lot of buttons. It's a lot of buttons. We just wanted to give y'all a sneak peek so y'all can run and tell everybody who's coming on. So now y'all know. Now, continue. All right. So, yeah, that was a little mix right there. A little mental health break. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Big Daddy Kane, one of the best. He just performed here last night at the City Winery. Yeah. So, big up to that brother.
We asked him when he comes up, like, does he know
come on, you know what John know. He know who Big Daddy Kane is.
Hip hop he likes or whatever.
All right, well, let's go.
I know it's not the question of the day, but I'm curious. Like, what's his hip hop influence, whatever.
Well, let me get out of here.
He's stayed here for longer. So I'm still talking.
Wow.
Don't switch. Don't switch yet. He's staying for longer than 20 minutes. I mean, that's not.
Oh yeah,
I know. Listen. I didn't even give him no time.
Oh, okay. All right. So do your little intro again. Do your little special guest intro.
My little intro. Thanks.
Yeah, do that thing again. I like the magic dust.
Medium size. Why I gotta be little?
Oh, so like
medium size. That's what you're having.
Whoa, pause.
Yay. Ms. Kane, do you want to do the intro?
Yes, I could do the intro.
You should do the intro.
Yes, peace, everyone. We are here. We are privileged to be here with the Ajamu Baraka, who is the coordinating. Oh my God, because I was going to say national coordinator, but that is not you. He is the chair of the coordinating committee of the Black Alliance for Peace. So we're going to be talking to Ajamu about the recent Black Alliance for Peace statement on the Uhuru 3 and the verdict that came out, and also some more about the overall repression of left and African voices that are pushing back against repression. And Ajamu, I also know that you are just returning from Iran, so we want to also ask you some questions about that. And I do want to sneak in a question about Mehdi and jail.
Yeah, many things.
So we got things to talk about. But how are you, Ajamu?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I kind of assumed that the ear doctor had made the connection between Big Daddy Kane and myself. That's why he clicked that button. You see, because that is my error in a way. So. That's where we were coming from at that point, before, things got corrupted. So, no, I'm glad to be here. Right. We have a lot to talk about. And we definitely can stay a little bit longer than 20 minutes, but, and we have to, because it's so many things happening, so many things that impact our people and impact the world. I mean, everything is happening so quickly. I mean, things we talk about, and decisions we make on a Monday sometimes get changed the very next day. That's how fluid and dynamic this moment really is.
So I can start by putting the statement up, and we can maybe starting with the Uhuru 3 decision.
Yeah.
And you, Ajamu, you were there at the court.
Yeah.
You guys do have a statement out. What should we learn from what just took place? Let me start with that way as a good way to start it off.
What was reconfirmed was the seriousness of the state in targeting Black liberation forces. The state understands because they learn from their experiences, and that's why we have to learn from our experiences also. That when you target and attempt to undermine the leadership of Black liberation forces, you are in fact undermining the potential power of the left in general in the U.S. And so this prosecution was, in fact, sort of a shot across the bow, if you will, of the Black liberation movement and the left in general. It was meant to silence and to intimidate. And the reality of that, I think, was reflected in the fact that the most serious charge that was leveled at the Uhuru movement and by extension the African People's Socialist Party they were acquitted on. They were acquitted on that charge of being so-called foreign agents or agents of a foreign power, in this case, the Russians. But then, interestingly enough, convicted on this weird charge of conspiracy. We know how they use this conspiracy. I know you in particular, Kamal, and knows how the state uses this conspiracy charge to loop in and connect all kinds of subjectivist nonsense to suggest that people are in collaboration and to win a conviction, which is, and in this case, it's even more bizarre because if the evidence was not there to suggest that there was some type of collusion between the elements of the Russian government and the Uhuru movement, then what is the conspiracy uh, conviction based on? It's almost like there's no evidence to suggest that you are colluded, but the conspiracy conviction says what you wanted to. You know, you were conspiring to become agents of the Russian Federation. So this is a very troubling. This is actually even more troubling than if they would have been convicted of the Foreign Agents Registration Act. This notion that they can pull together all of this disparate information, commentary, political opposition, and claim that its genesis emanates from foreign sources. Very, very dangerous for all of us as individuals and as organizations that have connections with people's movements and sometimes various states around the world. All of us are now really, we always have been vulnerable, but even more so with this conviction until it's in fact overturned. And we think that is going to happen. Now, being in the courtroom was a very interesting experience because the judge was a Trump appointee, and it seemed to me that things may have happened after I had to leave, but there seemed to be some sensitivity on the part of the judge to the frivolous character of that prosecution, in particular the fact that the defense was framed as a defense of free speech. And we know that the kinds of moves being made by the neoliberal state against the Trumpian right and the sensitivities that have now developed among that element, that seemed to be somewhat reflected in the attitude of the judge, at least initially. So it was a very interesting thing to watch unfold. Those first few days of testimony clearly revealed that there was nothing there. There was nothing there. They were bringing in all these FBI agents, these specialists, who talked about the process of gathering information, but couldn't really nail down what this specific element was supposed to be to indicate some type of collusion, instruction, direction, or whatever coming from the Russian Federation. And so, this is what we have to be aware of. This is how the state moves. Is very closely comparative to what happened right after the Second World War, or the Second Imperialist War, where again African forces were at the center of the repressive attempts to try to impose uh, collaboration with the state by undermining domestic opposition to the U.S. Desire to extend itself and to consolidate its empire using military means and other means. And to do that, you have to have containment within the domestic sphere also. So, and then who's prosecuted? Boyd at 81, Omar Yeshitilla is 82. The issue of peace becomes a primary target. You have elements of the left who were prosecuted as because of their membership in the Communist Party and their desires to raise issues like we charged genocide. So 9 out of the 19 people who ended up going to prison in the early 1950s were in fact Africans. So this kind of containment process, this kind of intense repression, targeting the African community and African revolutionaries is part of the playbook. And that's what we see unfolding today.
Mm-hmm. To your point, 1951, W.E.B. Du Bois, Paul Robeson got his passport taken. And we're seeing currently with Blinken just within the last week made that statement that RT News is attached to the Russian government and that African Stream is being paid by RT News and the Russian government. And since then, we have seen African Stream get removed from YouTube and all meta platforms. We've also seen RT be removed, and most recently, Hampton Think, after 11 years, has been removed without any notification. This is something that we've seen also at the height of the Ukraine proxy war in 2021. By Any Means Necessary was removed from YouTube. There was a plethora of platforms that were removed from YouTube with no wording. There's a lot of platforms that have not returned to YouTube or Spotify since. So I just wanted to know, in terms of what we have seen, this historical precedence that has been set, and then what is happening with the Uhuru trial in terms of conspiracy. All of these platforms that have been removed that are left-leaning or African-centered or some kind of Pan-Africanist, Black internationalist perspective, there's no evidence of anything. They have provided no evidence. They have shown no evidence. So what does this mean in the context of what we're seeing with this conspiracy charge with the Uhuru, where they also have no evidence of that, but can say that, there was a plot too? And what does this mean in the context of Russiagate?
Russiagate, in fact, was the foundation. Russiagate provided the conditioning process for the people of the U.S. To begin to accept official narratives and the construction of those narratives as a process or a result of a collaboration between state agencies, the intelligence agencies, and elements of big tech and the media. And so this reflects the kind of panic that we see coming from the authorities as they see themselves as a grip on their own empire and their ability to influence the public, both in the U.S. and globally, slipping. And so the response then is to try to constrict the flow of information, to determine what information is acceptable to be disseminated, and to criminalize opposition, speech, assembly, et cetera, et cetera. So their conspiracy to do this, their coalition is seen as the legitimate coalition to protect the interests of empire. And those of us who are in opposition, who are dissidents, who are attempting to protect and to expand and redefine the range of human rights and what in fact are human rights, and who believe in the possibility that we can eliminate the scourge of war on this planet, we become the targets. We become the domestic terrorists. And what that means is, and what people need to be reminded of, is that in fact we are on a war footing. that the state has decided that it is going to, that is waging war against us. It's waging war against any internal political opposition and external, and that reality has to penetrate the consciousness of people in this country, especially those of us who are developing ourselves and becoming radicalized and trying to build radical organizations. That we've got to understand the seriousness of this moment. These white supremacists have decided that basically either they're going to maintain their global hegemony or they're going to blow up the world. And a specific target domestically for attempting to impose the hegemony is, in fact, the still existing Black liberation movement and the movement of colonized people in this country. And they are doing everything in their power to undermine that potential unity and to undermine our potential power. So this is what the Uhuru 3 case represents. This is what the state apparatus is involved in attempting to do, to silence us, to marginalize us, to have us begin to censor ourselves. We say that the way you defend human rights is you exercise your human rights. You don't allow yourself to be intimidated. But we have to build more effective organizations to protect all of us as we find ourselves in the crosshairs of this intensifying domestic repression.
Whoa. Let me just jump in real quick here. Just to like the answer, obviously, I'm going to play a Jared role, is that we have to get Kamala, who will stop fascism from entering our door. The Democrats are our protectors to stop this fascist entity that's right outside. And we can bargain with Kamala. We can talk to her. We can she's empathetic to our cause. So how come that's not the answer? Or isn't it the answer for left forces?
Well, if you talk to certain left forces, people like Bill Fletcher and even Angela Davis, we've heard the same refrain every 4 years. We've been hearing this since the 1980s when we mobilized against Ronald Reagan. That was the genesis of the lesser of two evil phenomenon, and that the premise is that Democrats have a more progressive character. Therefore, even if they run a platform that is rightist in character, in nature, they still can be negotiated with. You can still put pressure on them to move them to the left. It hasn't happened. In fact, over the last 40 years, there's been a progressive march to the right on the part of the Democrat Party. People have to remember, we have to remind people that when we talk about neoliberalism, what was the mechanism for and structure in which neoliberalism emerged? It was primarily championed by the Reagan forces through what party? Through the Republican Party. Neoliberals have migrated into the Democrat Party. They, in fact, represent the driving force, the driving political and ideological force in that party. They have largely abandoned the Republican Party. The only neoliberals that still exist in the Republican Party are the so-called centrists, and they're in a minority, but they are because they are the internationalists. And so this is the reality that we are dealing with. That basically the Democratic Party, there's no space for influencing that party. The responsibility and the task of the left is to oppose their rightist tendencies. The driving force, we argue, the driving force of neo-fascism in the U.S. is emanating from the Republican Party, from the Democrat Party. They're the ones that have normalized censorship. They're the ones that are making arguments both in the U.S. and in Western Europe around the necessity to have forces in place that can determine what information can be disseminated. There's repressive legislation that was introduced in the EU just last week on that subject. Hillary Clinton just said the other day that people engaged in quote unquote disinformation should be subjected not only to civil penalties, but also should be criminalized. This is all coming from Democrats. The Uhuru movement was prosecuted under a Democrat administration. The Obama administration, the Obama Biden administration, they were responsible for the prosecution of more journalists and whistleblowers under the Espionage Act than all of the previous presidents combined. It was under the Obama administration where you had the normalization of the chief executive, the president, making arbitrary decisions to murder other U.S. citizens. Obama murdered 3 U.S. citizens, including a 16-year-old child, the son of Anwar al-Awlaki, with no consequence. It was under the Obama administration that, under the National Defense Authorization Act of 2013, that they basically put in place the mechanisms for indefinite detention of U.S. citizens. Okay, so these are the driving forces of neo-fascism. Now we don't seem to recognize that because they've been pretty successful in diverting our attention away from the neoliberals to the clownism of Donald Trump. Now there's some dangerous forces in that movement. There's no question about that. But the control of the U.S. state, the U.S. state in its deepest levels emanates from this neoliberal ruling class. Neoliberals control this state. Neoliberals are the ones in collaboration with the intelligence agencies, the big tech companies, and the media. They're the ones that are basically driving this process of constricting information and imposing an official narrative that if you deviate from that, then you find yourself, like in Atlanta, facing RICO charges. And you may even, like in Atlanta, lose your life when you oppose the expanding militarization. So this is the objective. This is the period that we're in. And again, that's why it's absolutely necessary for us to reinforce the fact that we are in fact at war. And it's not a war that we have asked for. It's a war that's been imposed on us as a consequence of us being brought to this land and enslaved and colonized. It's a war imposed on us as a consequence of the 50-year counter-revolutionary process in this country. Our responsibility, though, is to make sure that this war doesn't remain a one-sided war.
I have a question around the idea of building organizations and building the organizations necessary to fight this war. And going back to what you were saying in terms of what is the advice for folks in building organizations? What's the advice for organizations in this moment that we're in? We have seen the use of the courts. We've seen the use of the legal system to tie up leaders, going all the way back to the days of the 60s and 70s, to tie them up in court cases, to either throw them away in prison forever, or to just drain the resources of those organizations so that they can no longer function. We've seen the tying of the boogeyman of Russia, of China, in this most propagandized country that we live in today, right? Creating these boogeymen and using that again to tie up folks in legal cases, to tie up their assets. We've seen it done to Dr. Jill Stein around the Russia stuff. We've seen the New York Times' piece earlier this year, late last year, in calling for congressional investigations into institutions like the People's Forum, right, and their supposed ties to the Chinese Communist Party. We see it now kicked up with Uhuru, right? What is the advice to organization? And backing up a little bit again, me, Kamal as well, who operate in this nonprofit world, also see it at the foundation philanthropic level, where they are no longer giving the grants that they once gave to organizations because of fears of an upcoming Trump administration, the use of lawfare against them, and tying up their assets, right, and all of that. Given that reality that we are now moving into in terms of the use of the law, the use of the courts against organizations, institutions that they deem as working on behalf of foreign agencies, foreign governments that aren't Israel, what should organizations do to be able to, one, weather that reality, and two, build the capacity to fight that war? And not just fight that war, but win the war that you're talking about.
Yeah. There's a lot there, and I think a few things. First, not to become paranoid. We have to be concerned about issues of security, but not to allow those concerns to paralyze our ability to move. Secondly, is to get organized, is to build more effective organizations. So what does that mean? That means organizations that have clear politics, clear left politics. The period of diluting our politics, of playing political games with the petty bourgeoisie is over. What we have to do is build structures that have a tighter ideological unity, and to make sure that that becomes the foundation for how we build. And so that is the frame. That is I think the foundation that has to be there in terms of how we build. Thirdly, we identified uh, those issues that help us in the battle over ideals.
Right.
That basically we have to recognize that you know this process of building organization is not a technical one necessarily. It is a human one, and that the terrain of consciousness is the space of contention that we have to be able to enter into and in fact win. We've got to win it because we have these forces of obscurantism and opportunism, and we've got to counter that with a decolonial process, a decolonized cognitive and psychological liberation process. And people have to recognize that it is this battle over consciousness, this battle over ideals is paramount. That's why the enemy understands that. That's why they're moving against us in that way. That's why they're attempting to constrict and contain information. They recognize the importance of that. So this ideological struggle is central, and people have to understand it. So internal political education, but not in an abstract way, because you don't. It's no value of political education if you're not then engaging in practice. Praxis is the dialectical relationship between theory and practice. Okay, so we got to have more effective praxis, and we have to have patience and recognize that the process of building organization is just that, a process, and that is what Kamal was saying a little bit earlier. We've got to deal with this issue of the lack of humility that we are finding emanating from the culture. That people will read a book and be in a movement for 2 weeks and believe that they should be the leaders. Okay, it doesn't work like that. You know, we've had to help people to develop a consciousness for organizing. Mobilizations are great. They demonstrate where one is. They give opportunities to build towards something, to engage in educational work in your local communities or whatever. But we've got to help people to understand that between the mobilizations, and mobilizations are really tactics, we've got to engage in the unglamorous and hard work of systematic organization. And part of building organizations and building organizers is, again, to recognize the human component. 80% of the skills of an organizer are human, you know? And so exercising patience, you can't organize without having a love for the people, because you're going to run into so much bullshit that basically, if you don't love the people, you could be out of the movement pretty quickly. Okay, so you've got to be able to have patience. You've got to be able to experiment with the language. We reject the notion that our people can't understand certain things. That we've got to spoon feed our people because they're so unsophisticated they can't understand things like capitalism and socialism. Oh, that's nonsense. And you only find that kind of attitude here in the U.S. You know, in the global South, you know, the level of discourse is so much more sophisticated because people don't have this kind of backward notions about what the people can understand. And, you know, I've always said, it ain't the people who are not ready, it's the organizers who aren't ready. They're the ones that are scared. They're the ones that don't really want to push radical politics because it might jeopardize their their source of income. Okay. So all of these are elements that have to be considered as you build formation, as you build organization. The Black Alliance for Peace, for example, is an incubator space. It's a space where we are bringing forces together to give people an opportunity to struggle, to learn how to struggle, you know, to to build the consciousness we're talking about, with a recognition that to build cadre, it's a process. It's a process. I think it takes at least 10 years, 15 years for an advanced cadre. Okay, people have to have that kind of humility and understanding as they engage in work. And so this is what we have to do. We engage our people. You know, we struggle with our people. We struggle with ourselves. You know, but we recognize at the end of it that we have a historic responsibility to, in fact, do this. That this is something that is our responsibility, because we are standing on the shoulders of those people who came before us, those people who still can hear the drums, you know, the drums of liberation. Our responsibility is to fight this enemy, not to collaborate with it, okay, but to struggle against this enemy for ourselves and for global humanity. Because if we don't shift power away from these maniacs, these freaks, to the people, then basically we are facing an existential threat globally, because these folks are determined that they're going to maintain the structures of white supremacy, or they're going to blow all of us up. We're not going to allow that to happen.
I'm looking at the time, but you know, we said we'll extend it for you. I did want to know, Kamal, if we wanted to get a question in about Iran, your most recent trip, if you wanted to talk about that briefly, I'll give you the space to do that.
And in fact, not just Iran. I mean, I want to delve a little bit into with you the axis of resistance that's happening again all around that area. And you know, obviously, we've recently seen the technological advances that Israel has through, you know, the Western axis of NATO, and the work that it does to suppress the axis of resistance. But I was saying this a few days ago. Even with these setbacks, the axis of resistance, if you look at it sort of like historically a 10-year span, it is more powerful than it's ever been in terms of its ability to move people, to move resources, to have asymmetrical warfare in the West. I mean, on the Western colonial empire that is trying to situate itself through Israel in that part of the world or whatever. So curious about not only your thoughts on Iran's role in fighting back, but what did you, what is it that you see either in Iran as someone who's helping to spearhead that we can sort of take something out of or from in some ways?
Well, let me say that basically what we found in Iran is what we find every place outside of the West, and that is people who want to live in peace, people who would like to have the ability to develop their own project along their own lines, but they are usually unable to do that because they found themselves in the crosshairs of U.S. destabilization and violence. So the axis of resistance is a collaborative force that, out of necessity, has been created to, in fact, oppose U.S. imperialism in Asia, in West Asia. It is a structure that has not abandoned, like so many other peoples and nations in Asia. They have not abandoned the Palestinians. In fact, they see Palestinian liberation as key to the liberation, to the decolonial process in West Asia. And for people who don't remember, when we talk about West Asia, we're talking about the European term of the so-called Middle East. And so this is what they are looking for, and they recognize that to counter the ease in which the U.S. and the West can mobilize against Iran, that they need to have deeper relationships with the peoples of the world. But see, this is where the danger comes in, because when we connect up with the people, and when we are attempting to build relations with the people, then the authorities that are our captives, they then identify that as subversive activity, and people are afraid to, in fact, engage in that. But we say that we are human rights defenders. we exercise our right to assembly and right to associate with anybody that we feel that we need to. Okay, and so we're not going to be intimidated by this. So this is important. The escalation of tensions right now is a consequence of the continuation of the slaughter of Palestinians. Forces in West Asia have decided that they are going to continue to support the Palestinians, and they have been engaging the enemy of Palestine militarily. And that has led to tensions and led to the real possibility of a military confrontation because forces in the Zionist occupation force, the Zionist state of Israel, find it convenient to escalate to a conflict between itself and the forces in Lebanon and other places in West Asia uh, for their own particular reasons. So this is a very dangerous moment. It's even more dangerous from the point of view or the fact that there's no leadership coming out of the white people's house, out of the White House. Biden, we don't know who's in charge of U.S. policies. Okay, we know it's not Harris. Harris basically is she says and does what the rulers tell her to do, and we know it's not Biden either. So it's not clear who it is besides the leadership of the intelligence agencies. There's a reason why you have the leadership of the CIA and Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency, collaborating and playing games and pretending to be trying to bring about a ceasefire agreement. It seems like these agencies are the ones that are driving policy. These agencies who represent the deeper elements of the state. So this is a very dangerous moment, and we are connecting ourselves with helping people to understand what's in play, and hope that we can do that for as long as we can before we find ourselves also being shut down. And yes, let's talk about the quick election. I don't want to take all your all's time. So,
yeah, I had a quick question. We've seen the genocide in Palestine really throw a monkey wrench and just really shake things up in this election, especially with the Democratic Party. We have seen the rise of the Green Party and Dr. Jill Stein's popularity, especially with Muslim voters. And we have also seen an unprecedented response from the Democrats in them just really going out of their way to attack Dr. Stein, to attack the Green Party, with AOC, right? Even going so as far as to even claim her working family's party affiliation as being down with third parties, right? Butch, Dr. Webb was on Mark Lamont Hill's show yesterday talking a little bit about how to grow the Green Party, right? The approach to the Green Party. And if you want to ask you, one, why do you think, right, the Democrats are just kind of like waging this unprecedented fight against Dr. Stein and using all of the instruments of the state, from their breakfast clubs to their media to everything, right, just to kind of really go at Dr. Stein to undermine her campaign? And two, if you can, what are the fundamental differences between the Green Party and the Working Families Party, who is also trying to like lift themselves up as an alternative to the duopoly, while at the same time oftentimes carrying the water for the Democratic Party, with even one of their members, AOC, right, going at Dr. Stein the way she does?
Well, the Democrats are panicking because of the numbers and in some of these key states. They understand that if there's significant resistance to their lesser two evil strategy, their fear mongering around Trump, and that people actually seriously consider a third party vote, then that can seriously threaten their ability to win the electors in some of the key states, of places like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, North Carolina. Now we see that Georgia's also in play. And so the first thing they did was they began to sue the Green Party and try to get it knocked off the ballot. And they have been largely unsuccessful as a consequence of that. I think the last suit was in Nevada that they ended up losing. And so this is about power politics. This is to try to maintain the possibility of a Kamala Harris winning the presidency, and is also about the politics of what this country may look like going forward. For those people who involve themselves in the electoral process, it's important for people to understand that there are in fact differences. That the Green Party platform is a platform that is fairly progressive. In fact, there's elements that are in fact radical, and that it presents a alternative view of how politics and the society can be organized, and that is a real threat because it goes further than the kind of soft social democracy represented by the Sanders campaign, for example. And so they are really concerned because they also know that when the electoral cycle began, something like 40% of the electorate was open to the possibility of supporting a third party. And with the reactionary positions of the Democrat Party giving a green light to Israel, they have undermined themselves in these key states, in particular in Michigan. And we see even with the contradictions of the uncommitted movement, where the leadership there was when they placed these individuals on top of the leadership of the uncommitted movement, that came out this weak statement the other day that suggested that they, in essence, they still are collaborating with the Democrat Party and going to sell their own people down the road. It shows you how opportunistic they are, and it kind of reminds us of some of the black neo-colonial leaders that will sell us out in a moment's notice. But the uncommitted movement in Michigan and the support from Arabs and Muslims for the Stein campaign is absolutely significant. And so people have to recognize that with that movement and with the articulation of a policy platform by the Harris campaign that clearly indicates they're going to continue the policies of warmongering. Your vote is a statement of your values and your principles, and we should not be worried about the consequences of some kind of Trump returning to the office. Who cares about Trump? As African people, when have we been afraid of any one white person, no matter what office they may occupy? Trump was in office for 4 years. What impact did that have on us? And this struggle that we are engaged in is a protracted struggle that we got to wage, no matter who sits in the white people's house. This notion that Trump would be worse than the Democrats is absolute nonsense, especially when you look at, again, the elements driving the fascistic forces in this country. Okay, so we should be about our principles, our values, and not worry about something like that. We have to watch it because there will be some significant negative consequences, like this deportation plan that Trump has, and we see the kind of inroads that the Trumpian forces have made among unconscious Africans who are now some of the most belligerent voices against so-called immigration. These are all real phenomena, but real phenomena that we can deal with ourselves through our organizations. So we're not going to be distracted and confused by, this intra-bourgeois struggle between the national bourgeoisie and the international bourgeoisie represented by the neoliberal forces. We understand the class dynamics of that. We've got to recognize what our interests are and organize around those interests. So the electoral process is an opportunity to engage the people, to elevate certain kinds of perspectives on certain issues, and to build our forces. That's all we can do with this electoral process. And understand this, it shouldn't just be the focus on the national level, but on every other level. There's opportunities there for us to engage this process. We're not saying you put all your eggs in that basket of electoralism, but it's irresponsible to pretend like with millions of our people participating in that process, that we're supposed to just stand aloof from that. That's petty bourgeois elitism. And I reject that on a personal level because basically it makes no sense and it plays right into the interests of the enemy.
So you talked about this a little earlier, and I think, I don't know if most of us on the screen right now So like we have friends, comrades, allies who are in the sort of the intermediate camp who think of themselves they're leftists, they're radicals, but who are still pushing this idea of Kamala over right-wing Republican fascism. And then there's others of us, and I put myself in this category, who are like, you need to make a break. We need to make a clear, hard break. And I don't engage in a lot of electoral work, particularly at the national level, but I'm like, even if you're to take yourself seriously as an electoral force, if you don't break away from the people who are constantly shitting on you, who are constantly grabbing up what you consider to be your constituency and having them vote for you, and you get nothing out of it, and you can't tell those people to close the door on those people for one election cycle at the least, and tell them to go to hell and make them come back to you so that you can have your demands even thought about, then you're not even engaging in struggle. You're basically being pushed into something or being led into something because you either get monetary benefit out of it, ideologically you're weak, you like access, you like resources. I can't even understand at this stage, again, the idea that you don't make a hard break from the neoliberal fascism that we are seeing happening right now. It's not even it's not like just some talk on the side. It's like it's in our face. Actual genocide is happening. As you said, the State Department, other Democrat operated localities are going after organizers, activists, radicals on the ground as we speak, all by this neoliberal wing of the one party, two wing system. So when folks don't even challenge the idea that they need to break away from the Democratic Party and do something outside of it, to me, it just speaks to, again, either the sort of elite capture or the weakness that we feel, or the I don't know if it's the scarcity or I guess all these factors play a role in what keeps people still at the table of the Democratic neoliberals.
They don't want to come off the plantation. Massa makes it very convenient for them to stay on the plantation. And look at the amount of money that's sloshing around in the society today. Obscene amounts of money. And these are investments. They're investments to undermine, to blunt the radicalization of the masses of the people. You're able to co-opt and pay off and corrupt the petty bourgeoisie. Then you leave working class organizations by themselves, and basically you can undermine them and attack them. Okay, so this is part of their strategy of maintaining their power, maintaining the status quo. But see, in their panic, even the issues like the Workers' Party, there's really has always been an addendum to the Democrat Party, because the Democrats are suggesting there can be no opposition, no even appearance of anything other than complete support for the Democrats, and the Workers' Party becomes a target of their undermining. We have to make no mistake that the fact of the matter is that Kamala is in fact a fascist. Neoliberalism is fascism. It's a particular form of fascism. Okay, and we've got to be clear about that and say it. Perspective of that the Democrats are driving force on fascism is a relatively new one, because again they've been successful in having us diverted against or toward this Trumpian phenomenon. And we've got to maintain our own values and principles. Even then, for example, the Green Party and the Jill Stein campaign, we can't put all our eggs in any kind of electoral basket, because just the other day, I think it's yesterday, unfortunately, the Stein campaign came out with a commentary that it's just objectively reactionary. Because they went on this show with Mahdi Hassan, one of the best. He's a liberal, but he's one of the best interviewers out there on the planet. And you go on here and you get twisted up, and he's putting pressure you to demand that Putin's a war criminal and Assad is a war criminal, and then you come back with a statement like what we saw, I think, yesterday coming out, basically an attempt to try to put everybody in this one basket of a so-called of war criminals, which speak and play right into the ideological positions of the empire. We can't allow that. It doesn't mean that you don't have to, you won't support the Stein campaign as an alternative, but at the same time, we maintain our political and ideological independence, and we critique and criticize anybody that is playing a role consciously or inadvertently, that's propping up the ideological legitimacy of this system, including Jill Stein.
So we got time for maybe one, if folks have one more statement or question, anything else they want to end on?
No, I think he's covered what I needed.
Ajamu, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. You should be a regular on Fridays, brother. What are you doing on Fridays that you can't come on like 8 to 10 and
Go ahead and commit to something else. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, he should.
I dare you. I dare
talk
you.
Talk a little Big Daddy Kane, little music, bust out the ear doc. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna come whenever y'all call for me. I come. I don't know about 2 hours, but I would definitely come and chop it up with you. But I really appreciate the invitation. This is a very, very important outlet, and I'm so glad that we have it for us, for our people. So really, really appreciate all of you.
We appreciate having you, brother.
Appreciate
we're gonna let you drop off, and then we're gonna wrap up the show. So we really appreciate you being here. The ear doctor himself has left us, and so that means he's left me in charge.
So you're responsible for the mix?
Nah. I'm responsible for pressing the buttons to end the show in like approximately 2 minutes or so. So I'm trying to find those buttons, so that I don't want. What I usually do is I end the show, and then I don't push the end stream button, and we come back on for like 30 seconds or 10 seconds, and it's this awkward thing and shit. So but I'm trying.
Did you realize you figure out how you're gonna record live from Ireland and give us some on the ground?
Yeah, they got Instagram and all the rest of that shit. I'm gonna do all that. I'm gonna do live. It's just not gonna be at 9 o'clock. I don't know what 9 o'clock in the morning is for them, so I'm not sure if that's gonna be live or not or whatever. But
how to do Instagram live come out?
I could do X live, the Twitter shit live. I've done that before. I'm gonna do segments though.
Hey, so look, folks, be careful. You old man. You Shannon Sharp age. Be careful with that Instagram live. Careful with that Instagram live. We see how you like showing your topless shirts on
pictures, right?
Man. Be easy.
I'm gonna try to be easy, but you never know. Not purposeful. You know what I'm saying? I've been working out.
The white power structures got Uncle Shannon and Michael Eric Dyson caught up these days. Be careful.
Yeah, I do no DMing, just to let people know now. I don't DM. I don't. If you DM me, it's going to be like months before you hear a response back. I don't leave DMs. I don't do DMs. Yeah. I won't see nobody's pictures. In fact, I ask you not to send me pictures, and I will never ask you for pictures. So let's just get that clear, or whatever.
Clip that.
Now, we'd love to hear some reports from on the ground in Ireland. That'd be dope.
Yeah. So anything coming up for folks as we jump off? Erica, do you have anything coming up that you want to ask us? We'll talk about in terms of
we're prepping for the AFRICOM month of action. Every year BAP we take over the whole month of October with different actions, teachings around AFRICOM, banner drops. So we're encouraging people to jump in and get involved. You can learn how you can. There's a toolkit on blackallianceforpeace.com on the Africa page, so you can learn more about how you can participate in that. And locally, you can look out for us. We have a report back. We had some members go to the Sahel and Nicaragua and Cuba, so they're going to be talking about their experiences there on the 4th of Red Emma's. And then we have a town hall coming up, and we also have I'll be in Dr. Ball's classroom talking about AFRICOM next month. So look out for that. Oh, and our beautiful membership convening that I will be seeing you at, Kamal, because you'll be a lovely speaker, FYI.
Yes. Yay. Yeah, I gotta buy that ticket. Yay. Hiram, you got anything coming up you want to name? You good?
Nah, the only thing is the big protest on the 26th or at the UN at Bryant Park, the Arrest Netanyahu at the United Nations action that folks are putting together. So that's 3 p.m. September 26th at Bryant Park in New York City, if you can make it.
All right, thank y'all. everybody support Black Liberation Media. You know the places. We're going to clip this segment with Ajamu and put it on. This is our new Friday edition. We're going to be on every Friday at 8 o'clock. We don't know all the guest hosts who are going to be on, but we're going to keep it fun. We're going to keep it moving, and we're going to keep it radical. Peace, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Remix. 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 Remix.